Welcome to the Construct. I'm just kidding. Let's throw something up on the screen. So this is a 32-gallon Biocube, and this is probably one of the most common setups that a new beginner hobbyist gets started with. And I thought to myself, why not do a top 10 saltwater fish edition for a Biocube? Now, this isn't the amount of fish that I'd put into a tank, but this is definitely some fish that I would consider for a 32-gallon Biocube. Now, before we jump into any of that, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also, if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the world of Mad Hatter's Reef, we are going to be stepping up our game with the Mad Hatter's Reef Club. So if you want to check that out, link in the description. You can also find that via the YouTube channel page. And coming in at the number 10 spot on our top 10 saltwater fish for a 32-gallon Biocube is the Tailspot Benny. Now, this is probably one of my most favorite blennies. Not the first one I ever kept. I think it was the second blenny that I kept in the 90-gallon, and absolutely love this personality on this fish. Very easy to keep, peaceful in its temperament, herbivore, so it's going to help clean up those smaller tanks, which makes it ideal for the 32-gallon Biocube. Is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 2.5 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 10 gallons. And coming in at the number 9 spot on our top 10 is the Firefish. The Firefish is a fish that I've always wanted to keep a very large school of in a 40-ish gallon tank. I haven't done it yet because I'm not very big on keeping tanks with lids on them. Now, the reason that this is an issue is because that this fish is a known jumper. But that's where the Biocube excels for beginners. It has a built-in lid. So fish that are like gobies, such as this Firefish, that are known jumpers, you don't have to worry about that. Problem solved, even before you knew that you had one. This fish is considered easy to care for, peaceful in its temperament, carnivore-based diet, is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 3 inches, and minimum recommended tank size is 20 gallons. And coming in at the number 8 spot on our top 10 saltwater fish for a Biocube of the 32-gallon variety is the Starry Benny. Now, the Starry Benny is probably one of the most favorite saltwater fish that are herbivores for smaller tanks because they are absolute workhorses. They're going to work and eat all the algae that grow on the rock all day long. Not to mention they are rather stunning. These guys are easy to care for, have a peaceful temperament. Herbivores, like we just talked about, are considered reef safe, grow upwards of 5.5 inches, and the minimum tank size for this fish is 30 gallons. Check them out, the Starry Benny. And coming in at the number 7 spot on our top 10 is the Yasha Gobi. Now, this little dude is pretty awesome, and they are often found paired up with pistol shrimps. You don't need to have a pistol shrimp to have one, but they do pair up well with them. And just a word of advice, if you're into the pistol shrimps, be aware that they like to bury things. So if you have corals on the substrate, not a good deal. This is a easy to care for fish, peaceful in its temperament, carnivore-based diet, is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 2.5 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 10 gallons. Coming in at number 6 is the captive bred Aptasia eating filefish. Now, there's a couple things that are absolutely great about this fish. One, it's captive bred, so you don't have to worry about wild collection. 2, it eats Aptasia, so if you have them nasty little buggers chilling in your tank, this guy could go to work for you. But they can get confused from time to time and start picking on corals, so that's just something to be aware of. They are moderate care level, peaceful in their temperament, a little too peaceful. They are reef safe with caution, like we just talked about, can grow upwards of 3.5 inches and require a minimum tank size of 30 gallons. If you're dealing with Aptasia, glass anemones, whatever you want to call them, and you want to stick to the natural routes, check out the filefish. Coming in at number 5 on our top 10 saltwater fish for a 32-gallon Biocube is one of my absolute favorite saltwater fish, the yellow Watchman Gobi. Now, I'll give you a little bit of tip on this guy. You're probably better off picking him up at your local fish store because there is a number of varieties and color variations of this fish. So if you want one of those striking yellow Watchman Gobis with the blue specks, order it at your local fish store or see if they just have them and pick them up that way, because you can get a little subpar fish every now and again if you're ordering them online. This guy is considered easy to care for, has a peaceful temperament, carnivore-based diet, is considered reef safe, grows upwards of 4 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 30 gallons. And coming in at the number 4 spot on our top 10 is the Cardinal Fish. Now, this fish was on the verge of extinction, and through captive breeding was actually reintroduced into the wild and is now off the endangered species list, which is amazing and illustrates the power of aquaculture. This fish is considered easy to care for, semi-aggressive, which it's more semi-aggressive amongst itself than it is to other fish. They are considered carnivores, reef safe, and grow upwards of 3 inches and require a minimum tank size of 30 gallons. And coming in at the number 3 spot, probably one of the most expensive fish on this list, the Wartskin Angler. Now, this is a fish that isn't for everyone, but it is incredibly interesting in its behavior, the way in which it looks. It's just all around a very interesting fish. This guy is considered moderate care level, peaceful in its temperament, carnivore in its diet, is reef safe with caution, mostly due to the fact that it might chewy chomp on the inverts every now and again, grows upwards of 4 inches, and requires a minimum tank size of 20 gallons. Now, with all that being said, this is probably a fish that I would have in a species-specific tank. And that's why I feel like the 32 gallon is also great for some of these fish that you're only going to keep that fish and maybe some other little things that potentially just happen to get away from it all the time. It's a good tank for that type of setup where you're not going to break the bank setting it up, and you can have some type of interesting fish in there like this guy. Check him out, the Wartskin Angler. And coming in at the number 2 spot on our top 10 saltwater fish for a 32 gallon Biocube is the pink Street Ras. I thought I was going to mess up there, but I nailed it. This is a relatively new fish to me. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it until just recently, and I found this guy pretty interesting, and I might consider keeping him in a tank here at the shop in the future. He is easy to care for, peaceful in his temperament, so you don't have to worry about him going schizo like a 6-line down the road. He is a carnivore, which is typical of most wrasses. He's considered reef safe as well. So anytime that you're talking about wrasses, you want to make sure you're doing your research, because sometimes reef compatibility isn't always great. Temperament isn't always great. So it's incredibly important to make sure you do your research with wrasses before you purchase one. He grows upwards of 2.5 inches, and get this, requires a minimum tank size of 15 gallons. We have a nano tank wrasse. Check him out, the pink Street Ras. And coming in at the number 1 spot on our top 10 saltwater fish for a 32 gallon Biocube is the black photon clownfish.